So finally we have the fourth of the browsers. This is Safari, Apple's browser that is based on the WebKit open source browser engine, much like Chrome and Firefox are. So on the face of it, you might think, well, what about the built-in tools like Chrome and Firefox have? Safari's is very similar to Chrome, but out of the box, Safari doesn't enable them. So if we come over here to the menu, you might expect to have some information about the developer tools, but they're actually just not there. What you need to do to enable them is actually go to Preferences for the browser and go to the Advanced tab. There's a small checkbox on the bottom that says Show Developer Menu in Menu Bar. By clicking that and closing this, we can now show the menu bar, which you can get to on Windows by hitting Alt, or it'll always be shown on the top of OS X. And there's now a develop option, and this is a number of tools that are built into Safari to help you do some interesting things. If we look at Web Inspector, we'll see that it shows on the bottom of the window and is very similar to the tools that Chrome uses. In fact, they're very, very similar because the tools are actually built inside the WebKit source code. And while Firefox is using them as well, they've made a number of their own modifications. That's why it looks different. So it has those same elements, resources, scripts, timeline, profiles, and console tabs. It adds a new one for storage that is similar to what the resources tab in Chrome does, but they're pretty similar. What Safari also supports, which ends up being really useful for doing mobile website development, is the ability to change the user agent. So the idea behind this is really to allow you to change the website's perception of what browser it's being shown with. It actually does this by changing the user agent that is sent to your server and comes back. Now, most of these I don't bother testing with. I'm not testing with different desktop versions of Safari or Firefox or Opera, or especially not Internet Explorer, because really this isn't changing the rendering engine. This is telling your server what the browser is, and in some cases it can return different data. And one place where this is really obvious is in the mobile Safari space, or the ability to tell the web server that this is coming from a device instead of a computer. Now, this isn't going to render it just like it would on that device, but it does at least give you the hints for on the server returning mobile versions of a page. So if we change this to something like iPhone, it actually redoes and re-requests the page using that user agent. Because in our particular case, we're not doing anything with the user agent to do mobile browser detection, we're seeing the same page. But in cases where you're using different tooling to detect mobile browsers, this ability to change the user agent can be very, very useful in testing those scenarios. Let's head back to the slides.